So here we are on August 21st, and it is weird. The market here in Ocean City has definitely not gone as I had expected. In today's video, I'm going to talk you through exactly why it's weird and why you should care, as July was a rip-roaring, super fast, very strong month, and August is exactly the opposite. Let's dive in. So mortgage rates are down even further, down around 6.5. And as I've been saying for a few months now, we should expect to stay under 7% for the rest of the year. There's a chance that these could continue to inch downwards. There's a chance they do not. Nobody knows. But as long as the Federal Reserve cuts rates next month in September, which is basically fully expected at this point, at least 0.25%, this should be our reality for the next month or so. Again, said it last time, I will say it again. A rate cut by the Fed does not mean mortgage rates are going to go lower. That expectation is already being factored in. So inventory-wise, down compared to where we started the month, but not meaningfully so. 4% is essentially 8 properties, not a huge deal, but it's still down. And normally August ends up roughly flat. Some Augusts are actually a little bit higher with where inventory ends up than at the start of the month, but down is a little abnormal. So we'll see how the rest of this month plays out. But it's a little bit jarring considering what we're going to be talking about in a minute. With the amount of new listings that we had, the lack of pending sales that we have had, you would have thought that a decrease would be unlikely, but I'll explain why it's happened. Now, prices are continuing to be very strong going forward in both buckets. Now, you may notice that single family homes bucket jumped substantially up to 15%. We were at about 7% as of the end of July. So we'll get into exactly why that has happened too. But new listings, again, we have come back up roughly. We're on pace to match what we saw last August. So again, I've been using 2023 as a pretty safe template for what to expect in 2024, as well as bouncing what happened in 2019 to factor into my projections, because 2020, 2021, and 2022 were all wacky for various reasons, all related reasons, but still very wacky. But a combination of 2023 and 2019 has actually played out very well in terms of helping us predict what to expect. So on this front, as expected, it's a good thing. And if that continues, we should see another bump in new listings come September. That would be great. Now, pending sales fell off a cliff to the point where we are looking at normal winter numbers and late fall, early winter numbers, which is abnormal for the month of August. Now we've still got 9 days or so left. It's possible, right, that we go on a tear, but I don't think it's likely at this point. I think we are going to see a pretty weak month. And again, I'll talk why I think that is in a couple minutes. Closed sales, very standard, very normal, all good stuff there. Months of inventory for single families bumped back up a little bit, and a month, give or take, which is normally a substantial jump. But given how much this fluctuates, it's not something that I'm reading too much into. Now, the sale price. All right, let's talk about this. What the heck happened in August that all of a sudden it's going through the roof to the point where it changed my numbers on the left-hand side of this chart? In the past, that cap was at 1,750,000, and we didn't really breach it. We didn't come too close to breaching it, but now it has recalibrated my whole dang chart. So what happened? We've had a lot of high-end homes going under contract. I talked about this in the last video a little bit. That lower budget price point is basically gone. There are still teardowns to be had, right? Million or less, but beyond that, it's almost non-existent. And with the lack of, and I covered this a few videos ago, the lack of homes available between single family homes between 1 million and 1.5 million, give or take, by default, if we have very few homes under $1.5 million that exist, not even that are out there and sitting, just that exist and are for sale, this is what's going to happen. So single families, even though it looked like a lull for a little bit there, I do still think some of the high-end homes, there may be some room in the fall or in the winter. But we're basically entering a new price tier, is what it appears to me. So it'll be very interesting to see how that continues going forward, because again, these things are baked in on a rolling 12-month scale, the way that I look at it. We've had a very few strong months in a row in terms of what that median price point is. Again, I've run the mean against this too, and it checks out another increase compared to what we have seen previously. Days on market, still very stable. We'll see where that ends at the end of the month. Condos still trending in a strong direction as inventory falls in that condo space, and prices are still very stable, very, very strong. Days on market, same deal. Speed. It's like we stepped in tar or got stuck in quicksand. How do we go from the fastest month in a very long time to the slowest month in over a year? It's exactly what I talked about. Again, this metric speed, you're not going to find anywhere else. This is my own little Frankenstein creation of comparing the number of new listings to the number of homes that went under contract in the same month. So simply put, how many new homes do we need to see hit the market to get one home under contract? Generally speaking, we're at about 1.75. There are months that are slower, there are months that are faster, but fairly stable, all things considered. But when we have these slow months or these extra fast months, it is important. It's an indicator for me to dig in and say, what happened, right? There's something that may be changed, something that could alter a pattern going forward. And it's a red flag for me to really, really dig into that context. Again, still looking very, very safe and stable here after, again, the chart on the left is a multi-year going back to 2019 chart. Shows you the chaos of everything that's happened. And the one on the right is a zoom in of the past 2 years to show you that, hey, look, we've really flattened things out. Things have stabilized over the last 2 years to a pretty comfortable point. Now, what do we expect going forward? This is the fun part. Again, I'm going to address some weirdness here. There's not going to be a part after this at the end. Everything's going to be addressed while I'm on this slide. So mortgage rates, there have been people betting that there's going to be a 0.5% cut. I don't think that's going to happen. It looks more likely to me there's going to be a cut in September and at least one more. I'm thinking at most one more. Some people are saying, they're going to cut quarter point at each of their remaining 3 meetings. I think that would be crazy. I think we'd have to see some real red flags in a lot of places for them to do that. But good news for mortgage rates, right? They should stay where they are at worst, probably. At best, they might come down even a little bit more, closer to 6. It's possible. Inventory-wise, again, it's abnormal to see this in the month of August. Normally, it stays flat. Now, what this is doing for us on at least an annualized basis, right? The calendar year 2024 compared to the calendar year of 2023, to put it simply, we've had fewer new listings this year than last year. We should have expected, based off the speed of the market, right, my speed stat, a certain number of pending homes, fewer, as a result of fewer homes to buy. That really didn't line up well. We were seeing a stronger market so far this year compared to the same period last year. August is basically course correcting that to put it pretty much in line with expectations compared to what we saw last year. So that was just a little nugget that I found very interesting that, again, 2023 has been my template so far in terms of expectations and how to guide us as to what we should expect going forward. And that continues to prove to be a pretty accurate guide for reasons that I've talked about in the past. Happy to elaborate again, but I don't want to bore you if you've heard it 10 times so far. So it's been a better market by a margin now, a small margin. I think even as of last month, it was a much better market by a pretty decent margin. But all things considered, it's pretty darn stable. The whole gridlock bit really seemed to unravel a little bit. Buyers decided to wake up a little bit last month. Now they're going back to sleep. Now, whether that is because they're waiting for mortgage rates to come down or stabilize, I don't really know. The selection out there is still nothing to get too excited about. When something good actually does hit, more often than not, it goes fast. Sometimes it doesn't. I've seen a few of those where I'm pretty surprised, and I've taken people through these homes, and it just doesn't hit the way that I would have thought. And the reasons vary depending on the person. I'm not going to share those personal details, but generally the people who are out here buying know what they want. And if we find it, they buy it. And if not, there is little to no room for compromise on what that looks like. In the past, there was definitely more compromise because the urge to get here was just so strong. But that urge, not saying it's decreased, there's still a ton of people who want to be here. But that compromise window, right, used to be maybe about this big, and now it is incredibly narrow. So it's got to be a great property at a price that makes sense and works for that person. Makes sense. Now, inventory-wise, why on earth is inventory decreasing when we had more listings and fewer homes go under contract? So this has happened a couple times in the past. This one, I'm not quite sure if it has anything to do with the new world of real estate that I addressed a couple videos ago. And it's linked somewhere on my channel. You'll find it. All the changes that you need to know about if you're buying or selling anytime soon. It's a different world now than it was just 3 weeks ago in the state of New Jersey. Um, and maybe most of these homes were just pulled off the market. There were a lot that were just pulled off the market, were listed for months, weeks, whatever it was. New construction that have just been taken off the market. They're still being built, right? You can drive by and see them, but they're not listed anymore. So whether that is the brokerage reassessing how they want to handle this based on the rule changes, whether that is the builder or developer reassessing how they want to handle this, I'm not entirely sure. But if those homes did not all get pulled off the market over the past couple of weeks, our inventory would be about where I would have expected it to be. So the fact that it's a decrease doesn't scare me. We saw it come off the market. When it's still being built, it's going to be back on the market. It's just a timing issue, I guess we could chalk it up to at this point. So I want to keep that in mind going forward. It's not something that scares me too much. Now, prices, again, very, very strong month for those single families. I want to address it here. And again, I talked about it a little bit toward the beginning of this, but I want to hammer that point home, right? There's two sides of this single family argument, right? There are people who get pissed off that single family homes are being knocked down and duplexes are going up, overcrowding on the island, lack of parking. I totally, totally get it. But those same people often have problems with the affordability. It's ridiculous. People are ripping each other off. It's gotten out of hand. Everyone's priced out. Developer survey role here. I'm going to get on my little developer soapbox for a second. They have served a role on this island in keeping it more affordable than it would have otherwise been. Picture this with me, a world in which those duplexes were never built. We just have an island of cottages. People still want to be here. The same amount of people still want to be here. What do you think would have happened if our supply was essentially half of what it is now? Do you think that prices would have gone up or not? And we can make the argument that yes, building with $1 million+ build costs now obviously factors into what those sale prices are. Hear you completely. But my point of even mentioning any of that is that there really has been a purpose served, and there is a market for that. It has given people, more families, a chance to enjoy owning a piece of the island than ever in the island's history, truthfully. So there are opportunities out there, and I know a couple of them, right, where there are single family homes that are priced, all things considered, reasonably, that are not selling. Why, I don't know. Right? The buyers that are going through say it's too small, but those same buyers comparably would be buying the same square footage in a duplex. Newer, similar age, maybe, but there just seems to be a disconnect with a lot of people out there. My goal is just to help connect those disconnected connections, because the reality of the market is the reality of the market, right? The market is going to do what it's going to do. People are going to react how they're going to react. I just don't want to see people missing opportunities because they have an anchor point that is not a correct anchor point. Basically, a piece of data or some story they're telling themselves that is actually going to prohibit them from making a sound decision in any direction. Again, when I say that, I truly mean whether to shoot or pass, right? To act or not. If you're stuck, you may wake up 2 years from now remembering that decision point that you decided to pass instead of shoot and go, well, that was dumb. Why'd I do that? I've heard that story too many times. So going forward, again, there's going to be more content from me on this whole thing. I want to hear from you what kind of content you want. Do you want interviews with people who have successfully bought a home here? Do you want to hear their stories? Do you want more properties? Do you want to see more things and get my take on why I feel they're priced well or not? Tell me in the comments. Reach out however you see fit. There's going to be a lot more coming. I'm excited to bring it to you. So if you haven't already, and most of you haven't, totally get it. I barely subscribe to anybody on YouTube, but it would do me a big favor. It would help get my message out to more people, help people make better decisions, and you'll get notified when new videos are coming. And again, there's going to be more coming. So make sure you hit subscribe down below and hit the little notification bell. If you skip that step, you're not going to get notified of anything. So that is it. I hope you found this one helpful. This fall is going to be quite a ride. We're going to have election noise. We're going to have Federal Reserve making moves, hopefully. But ultimately, all of that only matters so much. The thing I'm keeping my biggest eye on is the inventory, the type that's out there, the quantity, right? The total that's out there, and how the market's moving. August, I think, is going to get chalked up this time next month. It's a weird month. September's kind of back in business, back to normal. But time will tell. So thanks again for hanging out, and I will see you next time.